Welcome back to Figuring It Out. I'm Rachel Lee. Before we get into today's episode, if something lands while you're listening, follow the podcast, leave a review, or share it with someone who needs to hear it. That's how this reaches the people it's meant for. All right. I want to start with something that happened while I was preparing for this episode. I looked at the clock, 3:27. My brother's birthday, March 27th. And I smiled because that's him. That's just how he shows up now. And I thought, that right there, that's what today's episode is about. Stealing joy. Not finding it, not choosing it, not manifesting it, stealing it. Taking it back from the moments that tried to keep it from you. I want to be really clear about what I mean when I say stealing joy, because this isn't toxic positivity. This isn't pretending things don't hurt. This isn't finding the silver lining like some kind of greeting card sentiment, although I love a good Hallmark. This is something different. This is defiance. This is reaching into a moment that is hard or heavy or ugly or unfair, and pulling out the one thing it can't have. Your gratitude, your peace, your ability to find something, anything that still counts. Because here's what I've learned after a lifetime of hard things. Pain will take what you give it. If you give it everything, it takes everything. But if you reach in and steal something back, even something small, it doesn't get to have all of you. That is stealing joy. I want to be honest with you about something before we go any further, because I don't want to stand up here and make it sound like stealing joy has always been a natural thing for me. It hasn't. For a long time, I was the opposite. Negative, pessimistic, living in victimhood, asking why me, holding on to the hard things, letting them define the whole story. When my dad got sick, I prayed for him to be healed. And then he died. And I couldn't find the joy in that for a while. I was angry, grieving, and lost. But here's what I found eventually. I had moved back to Arizona to take care of my dad. And I had 5 weeks with him before he died. 5 weeks. Just me and my son. Not my mom, not my brother, not my sister. My oldest and I. I had the privilege of taking care of my dad, of being there, of being present on the day he left. That's not something I recognized in the moment. That's something I found later, when I was ready to look. And that's how stolen joy works sometimes. You can't always steal it right away. Sometimes you have to come back to it. Sometimes it takes months. Sometimes it takes years. But it's always there, waiting for when you're ready. I didn't learn to steal joy from a book. I didn't learn it in therapy. I learned it because I didn't have a choice. When you lose both parents, when you lose a brother, when you become a mother, solo, when you survive things that nobody named correctly, and you spend decades carrying what was never supposed to be yours to carry, you learn real fast that if you wait for life to hand you joy, you're going to be waiting a long time. So you take it, even if you're looking back in those moments, to try and find it in the small places. Because the small places are the ones that are always available, actually. Nobody can take the small ones. They're too quiet to steal. But you know they're there. You just have to reach for them. Let me give you a real example. I have 2 sons, different fathers. And I'll be honest with you, both of those relationships were ones that were never going to work. Not because either one of us were bad people, but because the only reason we were together was to have our sons. That's it. That's what those seasons were for. Now, I want to be clear here because these are two different stories. My oldest son's father, that was a relationship. One I actually cared about. One that hurt deeply when it ended. You know, that feeling where like you love someone so much or you think you love someone so much, but in reality, I didn't die when it ended. Honestly, I thrived. And the joy I stole from that ending, my oldest, who is smart and kind and funny as hell and completely mine. I didn't get the relationship I thought I wanted. I got something better. I got him. My youngest son, that's a different story entirely. I knew we weren't going to be together. It just wasn't that kind of situation. He didn't know me well enough to know when I said I was going to have this baby and raise it, I meant it. He could either be part of it or kick rocks. It mattered to me none. Because I genuinely felt my youngest was sent to me. By my family, by my dad, by my brother, by my mom. Like a message from all of them saying, hey girl, wake up, be better, we've got you. He didn't just give me another son. He gave me a reason to show up differently. For him, for my oldest, for myself. That baby was stolen joy before he even arrived. A gift wrapped in the most unexpected timing. From people who were already gone, but apparently still very much involved. And then there's my brother. The one who was always in trouble. The one who needed more oxygen in every room he walked into. The one who would look at us and say, don't do this. Don't be like me. Learn from what you're watching. He was our protector. Even when his own life was in chaos, he was watching out for us. And when he died, the last thing he told his girlfriend was, tell my kids I love them. Tell my mom I'm sorry. And I'll be honest with you. For a while, I was a little pissed off. He didn't mention my sister. He didn't mention me. And I thought, you could have said it. You could have included us. But here's the joy I stole from that eventually. He already knew. He knew I knew he loved me. He knew I'd accept his apology without needing to hear it out loud. He didn't have to say it because it was already understood between us. That's its own kind of love. The kind that doesn't need words because it's already lived. And he still shows up. 3:27 on a clock, a total on a receipt, a timestamp, a moment where I look up and think, there he is. He's here. He's still watching. That's stolen joy. Taking presence back from absence. And when my mom was in hospital, we had chosen the facility at night, exhausted, not really knowing what was next door. And the next morning, when we opened the door, we heard children laughing, playing, running. My mom taught early childhood education for 30 years. She could hear them. That wasn't random. That was her send-off. And my son was in the room with her, taking a nap. She waited until she knew he was taking a nap. And then she let go. Instead of letting that moment be only about losing her, I stole the joy of knowing that the last sound she heard or children, her people, her life's work, laughing, and that my son, one of her grandsons, was there. That's stolen joy. That's taking beauty back from one of the hardest moments. I want to get really honest with you about something. Right now, in the season of my life, things aren't perfect. There are things that I'm navigating. There are things that aren't where I want them to be yet. And I could let that take everything away from me. But I lived in a negative mindset for too long to go back there. So instead, I steal the joy. There's food on my table, the electricity is on, important things are covered. I went to the gym this morning, an 1.5 hour workout. And the joy I stole from that wasn't the length or the performance or, oh my gosh, how I looked after. It was that my body moved. That's it. That was enough. Oh, and there's one more thing. The fact that I still go. Less than a year ago, I made a promise to myself that I would show up every day for 75 days and do 2 miles on a treadmill. I didn't post about it. I didn't tell anybody. I just needed to prove to myself that I could do it. And that what I said to me meant something. It hasn't been about the weight loss, not necessarily about the fitness, but evidence that I can trust myself. I can keep a promise to myself. And that promise, that secret treadmill promise, turned into a 5K in New York City for a foundation that I wholeheartedly believe in. And it is turning into another 5K in New York City, one of them for the American Heart Association, for my mom, who needed a heart that nobody would give her. She was 60 years old. And I am walking every single step of that race for her. That's stolen joy. Taking back purpose from grief. Taking movement back from loss. Taking her with me into something she never got to see me become. I refuse to let the ugliness of the world around me or the pressure of what isn't done yet take from me what is already here. That's stolen joy. Here's what I want you to know. You don't have to be healed to steal joy. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to be on the other side of the hard thing. You can steal it right now, in the middle of it, from inside it. That's actually where the best stolen joy lives. Not after the storm, during it. Because after, anyone can find joy. The during, that takes practice. That takes deciding that this moment, whatever it is, doesn't get to have all of you. And you don't have to steal something big. Maybe it's the cup of coffee that's still hot. Maybe it's the text from a friend that came exactly at the right moment. Maybe it's your kid saying something that stops you cold. Maybe it's hearing a song that came on just when you needed it. Maybe it's a clock that says 3:27. Steal it, all of it, because the hard things are going to come up regardless. Grief comes, loss comes, disappointment comes. You don't get to choose whether the hard things are going to come, but you do get to choose whether they get everything. And I choose no. I steal my joy back every single time that I can. Before we wrap up, I want to ask you one thing. Where in your life right now could you steal a little joy? Not because everything is fine, not because the hard thing isn't real, but because you refuse to let it have all of you. That's the work. That's figuring it out. I'm Rachel Lee. I'll see you next Wednesday as we keep figuring it out.